Hello, nerds! You are tuned in to a clip from the most recent stream over on the main channel, Generally Nerdy. This is Nerd News Clips, hence clip, but this is a little bit unique because we are technically right now in the off season, which means I do live shows, so I have to clip from the live show, so makes these clips a little bit more unstructured and kind of longer form than normal. But I appreciate you tuning in. If you are interested in the rest of the stream, then again, go check out the main channel, Generally Nerdy. Until then, enjoy the clip. First up in this week's news is TikTok. So, just kind of TLDR in case you've been living under a rock or you just haven't really cared. TikTok was supposed to have been banned on the 19th of January. According to the previous DOJ and the previous American administration's decree, there was a law passed that basically and we'll get into the funny bits about this, but there was a law passed that said that any company with a majority that was majority owned by what is deemed a national security threat or something along those lines, an adversary of the country, will not be allowed. Primarily, they were targeting TikTok, but they were targeting other things as well, like kind of blanket statements here. So people that were switching over to, I think they were calling it Redbook, which is a whole deep dive into stuff that we don't need to get into, but it's like it's a reference to Maoist China. So you're actively feeding into communism, but some people are totally okay with that, and those people scare me. That app was technically being targeted too, was supposed to, because it is exclusively owned by the Chinese government. So it should be banned as well. But when it came time to actually do the ban, TikTok had already started to shut down the American servers. And then the Trump administration stepped in and said, well, we're going to see what we can do to save this. We do agree that the law on the books needs to be there. We do agree that it is bad that the CCP has so much access to American information. And there's a really interesting thing I saw on Tim Pool, I believe, who was referencing when Jimmy Kimmel said it. A really interesting take on why it's bad that the CCP, like in more layman's terms, why it's bad CCP has information of basically kids, because that's who primarily uses TikTok, because those kids aren't going to stay kids forever. They're eventually going to grow up. So if the CCP already knows all of their contacts, already knows all of their habits, and knows very likely many, if not all, of their passwords, then when they grow up and get real important jobs, some of them are going to work for the government, then the CCP has passwords to get into government servers because they were set by these people who were once children who used TikTok. So really kind of a great way to lay out why this is a really terrible and frightening thing. Yes, it is well known that American companies take this data as well, but it's less of a scary proposition when American companies do it versus when an adversary to our country does it. So this is the biggest update so far. That was kind of the TLDR. Let's get into this from NPR. Exclusive: White House in talks to have Oracle and U.S. investors take over TikTok. I believe Microsoft is actually one of the U.S. investors in here as well, but we'll get into that. So according to the article, again from NPR, the Trump administration is working on a plan to save TikTok that involves tapping software company Oracle and a group of outside investors to effectively take control of the app's global operations, according to two people with direct knowledge of the talks. I love how anonymous sources just are... I mean, at this point, it is well known that Trump is doing things, or Trump's administration at least, is doing things to try and save TikTok. So the details here are kind of the interesting part. And also, like, coming from an anonymous source, from two different anonymous sources, apparently. Under the deal now being negotiated by the White House, TikTok's China-based owner ByteDance would retain a minority stake in the company, but the app's algorithm, data collection, and software updates will be overseen by Oracle, which already provides the foundation of TikTok's web infrastructure. So Oracle is, I believe, an American-based company. So all their servers and things are on American soil, which means that CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, would not have access to the American side of the data, and presumably, if ByteDance has a minority stake, then they're only going to be getting a paycheck effectively. That would effectively mean American investors would own a majority stake in TikTok, but the terms of the deal could change and are still being hammered out. Quote, the goal is for Oracle to effectively monitor and provide oversight with what is going on with TikTok, said the person directly involved in the talks, who was not authorized to speak publicly about the deliberations. ByteDance wouldn't completely go away, but it would minimize Chinese ownership. So I feel like that would still go against the letter of the law that they just passed, because they're not supposed to have any ownership. It's supposed to be complete divestment. So interesting. Maybe is part of this. Oh, go away, NPR. Is part of this to possibly change the wording of the law? Anyway, continuing on. NPR has agreed not to name the sources who are not authorized to speak publicly about the confidential talks. Other potential investors who are engaged in the talks include Microsoft. There we go. Back in 2020, Trump gave his blessing to a TikTok takeover attempt involving Oracle and Walmart that eventually fell apart. A source close to the discussion said the retailer is, at this point, sitting out after balking at the estimated price of the viral video app. Walmart is the largest private sector employer in the country, so that's interesting. Largest retailer as well. Officials from Oracle and the White House held a meeting on Friday about a potential deal, and another meeting has been scheduled for next week, according to the source involved in the discussion, who said Oracle is interested in a TikTok stake in the tens of billions, but the rest of the deal is in flux. A spokesperson for Microsoft and Walmart declined to comment. TikTok, Oracle, and the White House did not return a request for comment. When asked about the Oracle talks on Air Force One on Saturday night, Trump denied being in discussions with Oracle's Larry Ellison about a TikTok takeover. Larry is a friend of mine, Trump said. I'm not going to try and do a Trump impersonation. I never spoke to Larry about TikTok. I've spoken to many people about TikTok. There's great interest in TikTok. No kidding. Appeasing Congress. While estimates vary on how much TikTok's global business is worth, negotiators in the White House have said ByteDance believes it could fetch at least $200 billion dollars, putting it well outside the reach of any consortium of investors who have been promoting their bids, according to the source involved in the discussion. Another person who has sat in on the conversations with senior White House officials about TikTok deal said appeasing Congress is seen as a key hurdle. Under a law passed by Congress, here we go. This is going to hopefully get into a little bit more of the details of the law. And upheld by the Supreme Court, TikTok must execute what is known as a qualified divestiture from ByteDance in order to stay in business in the U.S. Trump has given wide latitude to interpret what that means, but experts say it could involve ByteDance retaining a minority stake. Okay, so that's the language they use in the law is qualified divestiture. Hey, Chris is here. What's up, Chris? All right. Congressional staffer involved in the talks of TikTok's future who was not authorized to speak publicly. So this is potentially a third source, said binding deal agreements from the White House ensuring ByteDance cannot covertly manipulate the app will prove critical in winning lawmakers' approval. That is the whole point. Key part is showing there is no optional relationship with ByteDance, or operational relationship with ByteDance, that they do not have control, congressional staffer said. There needs to be no backdoors where China can potentially gain access. Fears about China, we already talked about that. People just don't understand, apparently, what exactly is at stake here. Under TikTok ban law, supporting TikTok while it remains under the control of ByteDance can lead to hundreds of billions of dollars in fines and punishment that can be leveled a year after Trump's term. Oracle is just one more... Wait, what? Oracle just has more confidence in Trump's political assurances, said Krebs at Brookings. For Apple and Google, yes, they were invited in the inauguration last week, but where will things stand? Where will things stand next week? Blah, blah, blah. So interesting. TikTok might be saved by Microsoft or by Oracle or some combination thereof. Super interesting. Once again, this has been a clip from the most recent live stream on Generally Nerdy. So that is the main channel. This is the secondary channel. I appreciate you tuning in here, liking, subscribing, doing all of the things. Don't forget to go over there because the content is different from channel to channel. It's not just smaller versions of the large things, though largely that is what it is. So I appreciate your faces, nerds. We will see you in the next live stream, hopefully. And then again, when the season starts properly in a few weeks, we will see you back then as well, and we'll do much more structured and much more informational and much more fun things, I would say. So that being said, I appreciate your faces. Thank you very much for tuning into this clip. Don't forget, once again, to like, subscribe, share, do all of the things. We'll see you in the next one. Before we go, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.